Pokeska?
Tondagosa, this is Kody Nokolo, and today I'm talking with Rui, also known as FlintofMother3. Mother3 never had its own clay models made officially, but Rui made some awesome ones that many people commonly associate with Mother3. He also created the clay models for indie games like Oddity back when it was still a Mother² fan game, and for the fittingly clay-styled indie game Starstruck Hands of Time. If you want to learn more about these clay models, definitely watch the Ag123's video where he also interviewed Rui. Rui currently works more on digital art, especially through his currently running webcomic MACOATL.
Strange to finally have people looking at my art. Where it's kind of like the generation that grow with it, finally reaching the point where they are creating content and finding who make these things.
Yeah, a lot of the people who saw those clay models back in the day are making their own stuff now, and they're like, wow, that was some awesome stuff, and your webcomic now has some really cool art too.
Thank you.
So let me jump into the first question. Where did you first discover the Mother series, and how did you feel during your first experience with it?
So I first discovered the Mother series in a Mexican equivalent to the Nintendo Power. It was a magazine called Club Nintendo, and around 1994, I think, this was the E3 coverage. They were covering the games that were coming. Donkey Kong Country was coming out, and they reviewed the Mother. I didn't even know Nintendo was making it back then.
Oh, wow.
Then time passed, I forgot about the game, and another issue of that magazine came out that was like an issue all about art. It had tons of art for Mario, Zelda, Star Fox, and among that, they showed the clay model for Mother. Since I was really interested in clay back then, I had been doing clay figures since I was in the kindergarten. When I saw that Mother had clay model, it captured me. I didn't find the game anywhere because for that time, it was already the N64 era.
Oh, yeah.
So finding Mother was really weird.
Probably impossible.
Not that difficult. I have an story about that. So I even made a few of the characters trying to copy the style. I say anything that was made with clay.
Oh, that's cool.
Captured me. So games like Clay Fighter and Neighborhood, Claymates, the 3D model the clay model from Stunt Race FX.
Oh, Stunt Race FX. I forgot that had clay models too, yeah.
Yeah, everything that was clay caught my attention. So it was already the N64 era, and when I was checking who was in Smash 4 on the website, I saw that NES was in the game, and that brought me back memories of seeing the clay models on the magazine, on seeing that old review long time ago.
Yeah.
So I decided I needed to play Mother.
Yeah, you had to find it.
I had to find it. In a store that I was procured, they have the Mother game back in display.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had the box back then, and it was quite cheap, around equivalent of $10.
Wow.
But when I finally decided I'm going to buy Mother to play it, well, Airbound. I went to the store, and they told me, "Oh, that's a shame. A guy just came out." Week about the game.
Oh no.
I couldn't get Mother after seeing many times in that store and for quite cheap.
Oh.
Oh, and it was the first game that I played through some other media.
Right.
It was an entire achievement for me because I was completely I didn't know how to use a computer. I don't know how to configure anything.
Yeah.
So getting that software to work in my computer
feels good, right?
I managed to do it. I played in the game. I love it.
That's great. Yeah, I had a similar experience actually because I think the first game I played on a computer was Mother3. So I tried to get Earthbound to work on an emulator, but I couldn't figure it out. So Game Boy emulator and got Mother3 to work. So I know that feeling. You're finally getting it to work, and you could finally play Mother. It's funny that a lot of people have that experience.
It was difficult to get to find the game back then.
I bet, yeah.
after my experience with the store selling the game, supposedly 1 week before I decided to buy it, I went everywhere in my city looking for another copy. Everywhere. It was in any place.
Yeah.
But with time, I played Airbound.
Right.
Then I found about it had a prequel on the NES. I got to play that. It was really difficult, but I managed to beat it on the emulator. Right. And then a few years later, with just browsing on the internet, I saw in a site that was selling stuff. I saw Airbound, 800 pesos. That's around $60, and I say this is my chance.
Yeah, gotta get it now.
It was the first thing that I bought on that website, and probably the last one. It's the Mexican equivalent to eBay.
Oh, wow.
And I got my copy. It came just the cartridge and a copy of the player's guide.
Oh, that's
missing
cool.
2 pages.
Yeah.
I had it.
Nice. Well, that's really cool then. Going off of that, you probably went on to play the other games too, especially since you based your name on Flint too. You have a favorite game in the series, and why?
Mother3 is my favorite.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I should have known.
I was really connected to Mother3 even before the game came out.
Right.
I had for many years. I have been related to Flint, even when I know anything about him. I even assumed that he was going to have psi powers.
Yeah, it seems like he was at some point in development. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember the Mexican magazine telling that you were going to be able to do magic instead of psi powers.
Right.
I think that evolved into the abilities you have in the final game. Everyone has some kind of special abilities.
Yeah.
That go from Flint's brute force attack. So Duster tricks and even Bonnie identifying the enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it definitely evolved into that. So, since Mother3 is your favorite game, I have a feeling Flint is probably your favorite character, but I'll ask anyway. What are your favorite characters, songs, and locations, or any kind of moments in the games too?
My favorite character from Mother, it's Pokey.
Oh, really? Pokey?
Really?
Wow.
I find him to be an incredibly enduring character.
I think so too, actually. Yeah.
Because I have seen this very few times on media. He starts as just an average boy, just like you. He's just your neighbor, kind of your friend.
Yeah.
And he becomes the second hand to the antagonist. And you can even say that he is kind of controlling Gige at the end. Because Gige is just a force of nature by that. And the entire game is he finally coming back and to do his revenge.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of what happens to Ness in that game.
Mm-hmm. I find that kind of narrative really, really interesting.
It's interesting when you find a character that you really can dislike, genuinely.
Yeah, I really like having characters that you can actually despise.
Yes, exactly. That's great sometimes because there's not a ton of those.
No, this time I think they try to find ways to redeem too many of the villains.
Right. Yeah.
In many games, or give them a tragic backstory, or explain why they are like this.
Yeah.
Pokey is just a little bastard.
He really is. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree there. Do you have any favorite songs or moments from the series too, or different characters that you like the designs of too, since you're really big into making different kinds of art?
For example, in Airbound, I really love the Kraken song. That's really cool. I used to use that song in many of my fan game projects. I tried to make many years ago. The final battle with Gige is really cool. I love how it goes from 8-bit to full-on higher metal song.
Yeah, that's great.
The songs on the first Mother are really, really amazing. Even in chiptune, the dance scene between Inten and Anna always gives me chills.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why.
that's a great scene.
Especially on 8-bit, because I have here the arrangement on the Mother² official soundtrack.
Yeah.
The song of Magic Ant. It's also
Yeah, I love Magic Ant.
right, fantastic, and has an ethereal feeling.
Yes, it does.
Incredible. And also the song for the Natural Killing Machine on Mother3.
Oh, I love that one too. Yeah.
And Mother3, the whole end of chapter 1, from when you find that what happened to Hinawa to when Flint kinda loses it.
Yeah, that's such an impactful song. Yeah.
I kinda come to tears every time I replay that part.
Yeah, that moment's really powerful. So, moving on from all the specifics, were there any kinds of different parts of the Mother series generally that were more inspiring for you when you work on the art that you make? I mean, obviously, it probably played some parts in the clay models you've made, considering you made some for Mother3 too, but has it influenced how you make those things anymore?
I always try to capture the kind of humor that the series has, especially for naming and creating its characters. A big part of this is just part of the localization, the work that was done on both Airbound and later on Mother3.
Right.
But I love things, for example, I love how the manly fish is called manly fish.
Yeah.
It's not manly fish, it's manly.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or the chimeras, how the elephant ostrich, instead of just giving an elephant the head of an ostrich, the head of a tiny elephant head, they used the head of the elephant to create the body of the ostrich.
Yeah, that's a really creative one, I think, too.
That's incredibly creative.
Yeah, there was so much creativity in all the different aspects of it.
I think that that's the reason why Ito makes all the dialogues on the 3 games. That's his strongest point, how to phrase things.
Yeah, the phrasing is so good with so much in the series.
I really try all the time to capture this, to try to say things on a different way, not on the standard average way.
Right.
Or to try to design characters in a way that it will take you more than a single glance to see all the elements that are there.
Yeah, it's more advanced than just making something simple. So, moving on from the games themselves, I was wondering if you ever interacted with the community much on starmen.net and what your first impression of that community was when you first interacted with it, if you were ever on there.
I am introverted.
Yeah.
I am not that introverted right now because after 20 years of being on the internet,
right,
I have learned that I have to open if I want to be more known, or if I want to make my art reach a lot more people.
Yeah.
Back then, I was a lot more. I barely interacted with the community, to be honest. I have very few posts on starmet.net.
Yeah.
I managed yet to nab the nickname Flint there.
Oh, really? That's cool.
I was amazed that no one had done it, because for that time Mother3 had already been cancelled.
Oh wow!
So I assume
nobody took it yet.
No, someone must already have the nickname Flint. No one had, so I named it. I am still Flint there.
Nice.
I haven't used those words in a long time.
Wow.
I didn't do much there. I posted my clay figures right as I was making them.
Right. Yeah.
And before that, I posted a small webcomic. Actually, my first webcomic. It was called "Where in the World is Pokey Minch?"
Oh, Where in the World is Pokey Minch? I remember that webcomic, I think.
It was hosted on starmet.net.
Yeah.
Maybe it's still there.
Oh, I didn't know you made that. That's really cool. That's awesome.
That was my first webcomic, and maybe my first comic at all.
Wow, that's really cool.
The story was, what was Pokey doing after the end of Airbound, when
Yeah,
he
between Earthbound and Mother3, right?
Mother3, and he is just messing with Ness, sending them letters, visiting other places. He starts to interact with the cast of Mother3 that we don't that we didn't know
Right.
anything at the time. There are like 7, 8 pages of this, maybe.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that on there when I was the same way. I was very introverted, so I didn't make I made barely any posts, and I didn't even have an account. But I looked at a lot of the stuff people posted. I think I saw that. I have to go back and look at it now if it's still on there.
I lurk at a lot, not only of that website and many others.
Yeah.
Back then, it used to be big fan site for each of the big Nintendo franchises.
Yeah.
Most of them have died by now. There are very few that still exist. There is Starman.net, there is Ikebine, and I think Super Mario Brothers headquarters still exist.
Yeah, I was on a Pokemon forum. I was on Cerebi.net's forum.
Terrible.net. Cerebi is still quite active.
Yeah, that one's still around.
Active.
Yeah.
But the big Zelda sites have died for.
Yeah.
The big Metroid sites, I think, died, and new ones have come, and new ones have those have died.
Yeah.
Mostly translated into wikis.
Yeah, a lot of them have.
Community
Yeah.
work.
So, you were just talking about how you saw a lot of the Nintendo 64 Mother3 stuff when it was first being shared around on the internet. What was do you have a lot of strong opinions or other thoughts on the N64 version of Mother3 compared to the GBA version we finally got?
It looks really weird. Especially because the art style that they were going to do, it's Benichi.
Yes.
I think the guy who was doing the art.
Yeah.
Like, I think he also did the character design on the previous games. This time, the 3D models in game pretty much resemble his style.
Yeah.
If you have seen some of his Mario comics or other comics or his Mother² comics, they look pretty similar to what he was doing with those in Urban 64. Also, if the game had come out on the N64, it was going to be a lot more depressing than what it turned out. I think I'm happier with how the game turned out on the GBA.
Yeah.
That if how it could have turned out on the N64. But I am intrigued on many of the missing elements that we know.
Yeah, I think I agree with you definitely. I think the N64 game was probably going to be a lot darker than the game we eventually got.
I think the only big misses from the previous version is all the things that was going to be done with the disk drive. I assume since there is a big time skip of the game that probably you were going to do stuff on the past, and then the time skip is going to be happen, and maybe if you planted a tree somewhere, it's going to be a big tree then, and
yeah, things like that would have been cool.
That's what I am intrigued by that. And maybe I find Mother² to be a little bit short. I kinda wish I had all those elements on the final game to make it a little bit longer.
Yeah, at least we got it eventually.
Yeah, I'm happy with at least having the game.
Moving on to the next question. This is kind of different from the others. What are some of your favorite clay models you've ever made generally? Not just Mother, but out of all the clay models you've made, what do you think your favorites have been?
Besides the Mother stuff, I have done a few figures by commission for exposition. If I talk about them, you are not going to know the characters, because I was contacted to do characters from a Mexican comic that's called the Super Sabios. That translates into Super Wise Men. It's kind of a bunch of guys that are really interesting and create machines and go into adventures with that. I really love how the figures turn out. I also later was contacted for a bigger exposition about the story of the comic in Mexico. I was in charge of with a friend. We were in charge of creating 10 characters across the story of Mexico, of Mexico's comic industry. And we did that. Those were a lot bigger than the figures I usually do, like the Mother figures. They were like 10 inches tall. I think those turned out really well also. I love them. I have a really special place for the Mother figures. I love how the community has embraced them. That's why I have never tried to complain when someone uses it on something. Those figures belong to the community. You can do anything you want with them.
I remember when I was a kid and I played Mother3 and eventually was like looking on the internet for different things people made about them, and I saw those figures and I totally thought they were official for such a long time because they were so well made and everybody had been posting them everywhere, and I was like, oh wow, these are just like the ones that are like the first two games. Those figures are really great. And I think you also made the figures for a Nintendo Force cover, right?
Yeah.
Newer Mother3 figures.
Yeah, when the game was, I think it was going to be its 10th anniversary. Around the time the game was re-released on the Wii U Virtual Console, everyone was 100% sure that the game was going to come out finally. And I think that was the reason they wanted to make a cover for Mother3, besides of the anniversary.
Right.
The editor-in-chief of Nintendo Force contacted me. I was already planning on making a new set of figures for the anniversary. So it was perfect. Okay,
oh, that worked out then.
I'm going to make the figures, to use it for the cover, and I have my new set of figures.
Yeah, those figures were really cool. I remember getting that issue also and thinking to myself, wow, these figures remind me of the original ones. I had no idea until the other interview you did recently that I saw you bring those figures out from the Nintendo Force cover, and I'm like, oh wait, you made those ones too.
I think they contacted Mela, the wife from
yeah.
Raidman, from Fangamer and Starman.net.
Fangamer, right?
Thinking that she was the one that made the original figures, because she made all the figures that appear on the official Mother3
on the fan translation website,
and on the Mother3 handbook that Fangamer made. I was really close to collaborate on that book, something that really pains me, because it was around the time that Brawl was going to came out, and I went into a media lookout to avoid spoilers. So for around 1 month before the game came out to around 1 month after the game came out, I was out of of most sites on the internet. And when I finally came back to the internet, I found an email from Starman.net asking me if they can use my figures from the Mother3 handbook. And I haven't checked that for about 2 months, so it was too late.
That's too bad. Oh.
But Mela also did a really amazing job with those figures.
Yeah, her figures are really cool.
I'm amazed those haven't caught a lot more, especially since they used those figures on the official fans translation page, also on the Mother3 handbook,
right.
on other places.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I growing up, I didn't really see a lot of people posting those figures very much either. But those ones are also really great, and all the ones in the handbook were really cool too.
Sometimes I have wanted to make the bosses of Mother3, but since those already have figures on the handbook, I say that's really not necessary.
Yeah,
not necessary.
They already have some. When you're making art or any of the clay figures, anything like that, are there a lot of times it's difficult for you to get motivated to make those things? And is there anything you do to get yourself motivated to work on things like that?
With figures, I used to work with plasticine, which is a pretty ephemeral media to make the figure, but it might, if it falls, it rains. If you leave it by the sun, it melts.
Oh no.
I have tons of figures with done on plasticine.
Right.
I think I did every Mega Man Robot Master from Mega Man 1 to Mega Man 6 in plasticine.
Wow.
Also, I did tons of Mario characters. I think all the enemies from Mario 1 to Super Mario Brothers 3. There was a point in time I was making every old NPC from Super Mario RPG on plasticine.
Oh, all the Mario RPG enemies?
All the and so I have plenty of those characters, but those are in pretty and are in terrible shape.
Yeah, I bet.
Those are really old. Also, plasticine gets really dusty.
Oh.
All the dust sticks to it, and it's really difficult to clean.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
For other figures, like the Mother² figures, I moved to another material that call it epoxy.
Right. Yeah.
I think plumbers use it to seal pipes and other stuff. And this material, while you are working on it, it hardens after 1-2 hours. Even after 1.5 hour that you started working on it, it starts to become not really easy to
mold.
Handle.
Yeah.
I will compare it a lot with watercolor, and you have to get the thing that you want quick on the first try, because if you didn't, it kinda ruins the entire figure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And in between plasticine being quite fragile and epoxy being quite difficult to work, I don't have that much motivation to do 3D figures. That's why I'm not that I haven't done that many lately.
Right.
I have moved more to drawing because it's easier and have less problems like that. And sometimes when I lack the motivation, the best thing is just to copy something from someone else, because I just don't post that. It's just like an exercise to keep the creative juices flowing, or tracing some, or even something, just doubling lines and stuff like that can help you to get out of the art block. Maybe sometimes instead of saying I'm going to make this, I just get paper or drawing program that I have at the moment, and I just start sketching something without knowing what I'm going to do. But if you start working, I have find that when you start working without an end goal in sight, easier to be creative and not get frustrated, because there is not something there is not a concrete goal that you want to make. It's freestyling to see what comes out.
Has your experience, all the stuff we've been talking about with Mother, influenced how you draw and you write in your webcomic now?
Yeah, there is plenty of things lifted literally from Mother. One of the first name from the prototype name for my webcomic was going to be Plan Nexus, and that was just plan. It's in Nahuatl, plant. Nexus, but it's a switch of words of earthbound.
Oh.
Instead of earth, plan. Instead of bound, nexus.
Right.
It doesn't work that well translated. And I changed the number. I changed the name.
Yeah.
Now it's called MACOATL. Still, it's a reference to the mother of the protagonist.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
In this case, it's Ma as mom.
Right.
And Coatl, snake. So mother snake. And that's also the name of a restaurant on the comic. That from there comes the inspiration. Also, when I have the adventure sagas, there is to be four kids are the ones that go in all the adventures.
Right.
One of them that a red boy with wings.
Yeah.
I inspired him a lot on Ness and Ninten. It's a quiet boy, quite timid, quite obedient.
Right.
I inhabit a lot of elements from there, and from time to time I sneak cameos here and there.
That's fun.
There was a point on time that there was the equivalent of the Starmen here in this world, instead of also aliens that came and I tried to reflect the same aesthetic here, but also mix it with Spanish conquerors,
right? Because
my comic takes place on a pre-Hispanic world, so I said the aliens must be Spaniards, but I want to also them to resemble a little bit of the Starmen from the Mother series.
Right. Oh, that's an interesting way to do it. Yeah.
And I also try to do every time I design characters, I try to make things so that the design cues for the character are not as obvious as I was speaking with you some time ago, how the
Yeah.
elephant ostrich, it's me incredibly clever how they mix the elephant and the ostrich for that creature.
Right.
So I like to do a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
For example, my characters are humans and also snake people
Yeah. Yeah.
or dinosaur, and then I don't want just to make nagas so the torso above the torso people, below the torso snakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like to do things like maybe have them brights that are snakes, or there are many little details on design that I try to evoke the same feeling that there was present on the MOTHER² and Airbound.
Yeah, that's more creative than just doing the usual kind of thing that a lot of people have done for like snake people, like you were saying. Like, it's a little more different for the character designs. It makes them more interesting too.
For some reason, that I have masked people on my game, my webcomic, and I always wonder why there are masked people on Airbound.
Right.
There is no explanation for those guys. I don't think they are inspired on anything. They just decided they have masks. There's going to be NPCs with masks.
Yeah, that is interesting. I never thought about that either until you brought it up now. There are just random NPCs with masks.
As far as I know, that masking is not inspired on anything. Or if it's inspired on something, I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either. I never thought about it. That's really funny.
Then, of course, my comic is also inspired by many other things.
Yeah.
I won't claim Mother to be the whole thing. I have also Super Mario as a big inspiration there. You can see all certain elements remind you of Mario, Peach, Bowser. Yeah. The main chef on the comic, I think everyone who's seen Basit, he kind of reminds me of Bowser. The way I draw many things like the feet or the hands or the poses resembles many things on Super Mario Bros. And I think I also have been called of being inspired on Mega Man. So there is I always say it's a big mix of 80s and 90s video games.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's probably a lot of the stuff you're most nostalgic for too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. That's really cool. And of course it makes sense that you'd have more influences than just Mother. It's cool to hear about all the different kinds of influences you have. Yeah.
I think I always try to capture that style from the NES and SNES era of gaming on how they created and drew the characters. So plenty of Mario, Sonic, Mega Man.
Yeah, those original game characters. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool, and it's cool to hear about all those different influences you have. It was really cool to talk to you about all this, and I'm glad you could come on to talk about it all.
It was a pleasure speaking with you. To tell the truth, it was really refreshing and a little bit relieving many of these things. I don't know why.
It's fun to talk about all this stuff. I feel like there's not a lot of chance to just like sit down and kind of reflect on like all the different things that like Mother has influenced in your life, and that's why I love doing these kinds of interviews, because it's fun to hear what different people experienced when they played those games, because everybody's experienced something different and had a different kind of place that they met it and how they played it and all that. So it was really fun to talk to you about it all.